Hello and welcome to another edition of the Liberty Brit. My name is Simon Godfrey and today we're going to talk about gear. And the reason we're going to talk about guitar gear is that the band that I'm in, Valdez, will be playing up at a place called the New Jersey Prog House. That's the 29th of April. And we'll be playing with a great band called Is. And what I'm doing today is literally just checking out all my gear, making ready for the show. So the reason I'm doing that is that this is the very first time I'm using this particular rig to play live. Previously, when I was in the band Tiny Fish, I had guitar synths and I had loopers and the whole gamut of technical electronic wizardry because we didn't have a keyboard player. This time round, obviously, we do in the form of the wonderful Joe Cardillo. So I am literally downsizing my entire rig and I am just going to be the guitarist this time, and more specifically the rhythm guitarist, because I like rhythm, I don't want to make it cry or sing. And so what I wanted to do is just show you some of the gear that I'm going to use for this show and hopefully some subsequent shows. Yeah, so this is a 2011 road-worn Mexican Fender Telecaster, and this cost about, probably around about 600, 700 bucks. When I first arrived here in the US. And when I say road worn, it has very little pre-wear on the guitar. And the reason I bought this was not because it looked road worn, not because it looked played in. I bought it for the technical specs on this guitar. And the reason why I love this is that A, it stays in tune underneath the lights. It's a fantastic guitar for staying in tune. It just looks like a standard Fender Telecaster, but it does have a couple of really special things about it. It's got a humbucker in the neck position, and it's got that great sort of Keith Richards sound, which is sort of a grunt, really, if you will. Even when used clean, you can really hear that grunt. One of the other things I really love about this guitar, which sets it apart from other Telecasters, is the volume, the tone and the pickup selector switch have been reversed. Basically the whole thing has just been turned round, so the volume is at the front with the tone control there and then the pickup selector there. And the reason I love this is because it allows me to do some really cool swells with just my fingers. It's all really in reach, and that's fantastic. And there's another side of this which is also very good, which is you can kind of do almost wah-wah effects as well. So you've got this kind of... this is a Gretsch double jet. This is kind of like the guitar that Malcolm Young out of AC/DC used on stage. Obviously his one is a lot more expensive than mine. I think the guy that tipped it over the edge for me when it comes to Gretsch guitar was a guy called Carvers, who originally was the lead guitarist for Cardiacs and is now the front man for Knife World. And I think he uses a Gretsch White Falcon, but I can't be absolutely sure. But it just looked beautiful, and I thought the sound that he got out of that guitar was just phenomenal. So I decided that I'd try Gretsch myself, and I have not been disappointed. It's a really beautiful sounding guitar. It just sounds really glassy. I think it's got to do, I mean, these are not T.B. Jones pickups, but they've got a sort of like kind of Gretsch, T.B. Jones-esque kind of quality to them, and I love it. And of course then you've got the classic Bigsby in there as well, which I've always really wanted a Bigsby. I mean, they are just such cool tremolo systems. Not very good for staying in tune if you're going to go mad on them. I just use them for a kind of sort of gentle tremolo. Beautiful sound. Okay, that's the guitars done with. Let's have a quick look at the amp. This is going to be my main amp. As you can probably see, I've got two amps here. This is the one at the bottom is my beloved JC120, which still actually has the British voltage running through it, so I actually have to put it through a juice goose in order to use it, but it's a great studio tool. The one above it though is probably going to be my main live tool. This is a Mesa Boogie 550 Express, but it actually has one of the things which I've always wanted, which is the Mesa 5-band EQ. It's dual channel as well, and you've got access, if you can go down to the pedal board here, to the channel switching, the reverb, the EQ, and also a solo boost. One of the things I most love about this amp is it has 3 separate wattage outputs on both channels. One is 5 watt, one is 25 watt, and one is 50 watt. I mean, with regards to sort of like how the amp sounds, the best way I can describe it is if you can just imagine like a nuclear-powered Fender Blackface. That's exactly how it sounds. It's got this lovely bright tone on the clean channel, and it is really, really gorgeous with a slight, I don't know, what would you call it? A slight, almost like a compressed kind of feel when you actually really drive it. Okay, so what's on the pedal board here? Well, let's start from the right and move across to the left. Basically, the trusty chromatic tuner. It's probably the most important pedal on my pedal board. There are many, many things you can do with a guitar sound, but all of it will be for naught if you don't actually have it in tune. And above that, this is the probably the only really esoteric pedal, which is the Electro-Harmonic Synth Super Ego. I've actually got it linked up to the volume pedal, and it's like kind of like a freeze pedal. I've just played it into the Super Ego, and that's now taken a sample of it and is holding it. And what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to hear it as I actually pull up the volume pedal here. And then I can add various different effects to it. So that's the Super Ego. The next thing down the line is probably the only always on pedal which I have, which is the SP compressor. Now this is a fantastic compressor. Funnily enough, I actually saw this compressor when I was watching, I think it was the pedal show, where I saw the guys using this. The thing that I really love about this pedal is it allows you to mix the dry signal with the compressed signal, and that's something which I've always really wanted in a compressor. They're one of the things which I first encountered with the guitarist Andy Summers of the Police, and if you combine it with, say, an analog chorus and a bit of delay, you can get this lovely sort of like sound, which I absolutely adore. It's been my core tone really for many, many years. I mean, I always see myself as a singer that plays guitar rather than a guitarist that sings, and just this allows me to sort of join in really with the rest of the band. The Whammy DT is really only here at the moment because it allows me to do faux 12-string sound. If I use the what's known as the drop tuning, not in this instance particularly descriptive, because I'm actually using it for an octave above. If you just hear the guitar on its own, and then I add the octave above it, the next pedal in line is the full-tone OCD. As I said before, I'm not a huge fan of overdriven sounds. Really, my whole game is about clean tone. But every now and again, you really do need to lean on the distorted channel. I use the OCD for the opening track for the Valdez song Black Eyed Susan. Really, when I use distortions, I want to be able to articulate the entire chord and still have it heard. So, for example, if you're playing a C chord, I still want to be able to hear that C chord even though it's distorted, so you get that. The final pedal is probably the most what I would call an effect pedal, and I use it fairly liberally throughout the set, and it's the Verbzilla. It's one of the earliest pedals to feature what's known as a shimmer verb. To give you an example of what the shimmer verb does, if I just play a chord without anything on except the compression, and then I add some the Verbzilla, the shimmer verb in the background, you can hear that pad coming in. So that's effectively my pedal board. This is going to be the very first time that I've played a full electric rig, i.e. electric guitar, pedal board and amp with Valdez. So that's the guitars, the amp and the pedal board out of the way. But before I say goodbye, there's one thing I feel I ought to mention. I posted yesterday a performance of me doing a cover of Joe Jackson's Stepping Out. That was supposed to be in today's vlog, but it just felt right to actually just do it on its own. It was the vlog was going to be about 13 minutes long or 14 minutes long, and that just felt too long for me. So I thought I'd post it separately yesterday. The song was supposed to be in this bit where I'm chatting to you now. So there it was. I'm very, very happy that everybody has really enjoyed that cover. Literally was a one-time thing. Came in, played it, walked out again. The only other thing I must mention is that Valdez are playing tomorrow at the New Jersey Prog House with Iz. That's Friday the 29th of April. So hopefully I'll be able to see some of you there. It would be lovely if we could. And I'll try and sort of like get as much footage of that day as possible for everybody else who couldn't make it. So until then, this is me saying goodbye. So goodbye. Pardon me.